Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We are here on the Friday news dump, and we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff before the weekend so that you can worry about it and we don't. Let's go ahead and get into our headlines here. Today on Before Coffee, the EU reaches a new deal to salvage a law on platform workers.
And inflation is nearly back to 2%, so why isn't the Federal Reserve cutting rates?
Finnish presidential candidate surprised at renewed focus on his sexuality.
Monarch Butterfly numbers in Mexico plummet to near record low.
What is going on with Berlin Film Festival and the far-right party AfD?
Those stories and more, which is not only National Pizza Day, but it's National Bagel and Lox Day on February 9th, 2024. On Before Coffee!
I forgot to switch. All right, let's go ahead and start with our first news story here, which is about the EU. This is on Euronews. The European Parliament and the Council struck on Thursday, which was the 8th of February, a new deal on a draft law to improve the conditions of platform workers. What are platform workers? Think of Uber, Deliveroo, that kind of stuff. People who are on apps, who do jobs for you, but they're paid by you and also the app, but not really. So they don't have rights as workers. They're like freelancers. They have zero rights, but they do a lot of work, and a lot of bad things happen to them and to their customers because honestly, the platform that hires them doesn't have any responsibility for anything, really. The provisional deal is part of a coordinated or concentrated push to wrap up all pending legislative files by the end of the month, the cutoff date imposed by the upcoming EU elections. After many hours of negotiations, I'm glad to see that we reached a provisional agreement today. It is a balanced test that protects workers, good employers, and provides for a European-level playing field, said Elisabetta Giulamini, the Socialist MEP who led the talks. It will also be the first time that we will have the EU rules on algorithmic management in the workplace. Algorithmic management? That sounds awful. As people who are on YouTube right now, the algorithm is a villain, and to think people are using it in the workplace as well to manage their workers. According to my algorithm, your numbers don't match everyone else's numbers, so we're gonna have to fire you. I mean, let you go, lay you off. Thursday's outcome, however, will still need to be ratified by member states, an outcome that is far from guaranteed given the entrenched resistance that the law has faced in some corners of Europe. France, in particular, is seen as adamantly opposed. First presented in 2021, the Platform Workers Directive, PWD, aims to improve the working conditions of those who service apps such as Uber, Deliveroo, and Glovo are often treated as self-employed despite being under rules similar to ordinary employees. Yeah, if you're self-employed, it's only your reputation that matters. If you're employed by someone, it's their reputation that matters. Hence, you are not self-employed. The tech centerpiece is a novel system of legal presumptions that would readjust. Is it supposed to readjust the status of platform workers if they meet a certain number of criteria or conditions in their day-to-day businesses, such as being forbidden from servicing a competitor app or being compelled to follow norms on appearance, conduct, and performance. Sounds like you're employed and not self-employed to me. Brussels estimates that around 5.5 million of the 28 platform workers currently active in the European Union are misclassified and would therefore fall under the legal presumption. Doing so would make them entitled to rights like minimum wage, collective bargaining, work time limits, health insurance, sick leave, unemployment benefits, and retirement pensions on par with any other regular worker. Wow, and these people have been doing this for 10 years now? With none of those things that they deserve because these companies found a loophole basically to hire cheap workers and make all the cash. Since the presentation of the directive, the legal presumption has come under intense scrutiny, not only by the platform themselves, who fear ballooning costs to accommodate the updated status, but the liberal and right-wing governments wary of increasing administrative burden and slowing down so-called gig economy. Gig economy should be illegal. That's
That's where all.
Okay, member states spent months trying to. Sorry?
You can't make working illegal. Sorry.
Member states spent months trying to converge the various viewpoints and agreed on a common mandate in the June last year, which added a provision to grant national authorities to the discretion of not applying the presumption in certain cases. So, like all cases, according to these companies who are going to have ballooning costs. Oh, you don't fall under being an employee because you don't work enough. Yeah, you only do Deliveroo once a week, and you're basically a gig. You're self-employed. The Parliament, by contrast, opted for a maximalist, workers-friendly position that made it harder for platformers to circumvent the legal presumption. I agree with that. Strengthened the transparency requirements on the algorithms and ramped up penalties for non-compliance. I think it's really cute there's people out there that think companies won't try to circumvent every single law ever to do what they want to do to make money. But I don't hold that. I know they will do that. I know they will look for every single thing so that they can cut costs, extort all sorts of things so that they don't have to worry about anything. So the more regulations, the better. Call me a criminal. I don't know. Roger's bad regulations.
There's bad regulations. Go ahead.
The deep gap between the two institutions bogged down negotiations. It took 6 rounds of negotiations, and a particularly high number, until a deal was reached in mid-December. So they've been arguing since June, and they finally figured it out in December. But while lawmakers cheered on a breakthrough, a rebellion erupted in the council. A larger than expected group of countries, including France, the Czech Republic, Ireland, Greece, Finland, Sweden, and the 3 Baltic states, made it clear they could not support the new text, as they believed Spain, then the holder of the council's rotating presidency, had drifted too far from the June mandate. Germany, the bloc's most powerful state, kept silent, an attitude intrepid as a prelude to abstention. The last-minute opposition threw the entire process into disarray and raised serious doubts about whether the law would survive or fall apart. I believe we did do an article about this back in December. Belgium, the current holder of the rotating presidency of the Council of EU, strove to rescue the directive before it was too late and drafted a new compromise to bring all member states on board. This new text was used for negotiations in late January, which failed as the Parliament and the Council were still too far apart. The mandate was again revised but faced resistance on Wednesday, the 7th of February. Still, Belgium managed to get the go-ahead for a new round of talks on today, February 9th in the morning. Yesterday, February 8th in the morning, Thursday. Attending Pierre-Yves Dermong, the country's Minister for Economy and Employment. I apologize for pronouncing that name terribly. This time, though, negotiators succeeded and reached a revamped deal, which would forbid platforms from dismissing workers based on automated decisions. That's right, you can't just be fired because the algorithm decides, you know what, you're a waste of money. Get out of here. Oh, my job. The agreement will be put to the test in the coming days. I'm just saying, I want a human to fire me, not some algorithm that says, according to the math, you're not efficient enough. And I'm like, I don't care. Let me talk to a human, please. Computers don't understand that they're destroying people's lives. They're just like, I programmed to do this one thing. It's unclear at this stage if the size of the December rebellion will be replicated. So they're not sure if what's going to happen. So it's been written, but we're still not sure if it's actually going to pass. The Council joint position is considered extremely delicate, and any major departure to grant concessions to the Parliament will trigger an irate response from the skeptics. France, the bloc's second largest country, holds considerable clout. I love how they said clout in this article. Considerable clout in Brussels, and could pull on all stops to bring the directive down. Move EU, a lobbying group that represents Uber, Bolt, and Free Now, dismissed Thursday's talks as a rushed process to agree to any directive at any price, and called on member states to critically scrutinize and reject the provisional government. Of course, they're going to say that because they don't want this law to be passed at all, probably. So if they just keep telling them this isn't good enough until they hit the deadline where they can't pass any more laws, oh, that's a shame. They never got to pass that provisional directive about what to do with all the all those gig economy workers. Oh, what a shame, says Uber as they cash in their whatever net money they make every year. Uber's net profit, net worth. Let's see. Let's look at this.
As they put
it's 1.4 billion. So that's their net worth as of the fourth quarter of 2023. So 1.4 billion. Oh, darn. They can possibly share that net worth with anybody. They need it all.
Well, net worth isn't profit, though. It's because it includes assets and liabilities. So you can't really go by that as a solvency of a company. They probably don't own a lot of assets. I mean, what are their assets? All their workers are gig workers, right? Except for the administration.
In the first, Uber became a public company, and their annual, I think this is from 2 days ago, so this is very recent. Their annual profit they posted for last year was 1.89 billion. So it's even higher than their net worth, I guess, which is 1.4.
Is it gross receipts or net profit?
It just says annual profit.
Oh, okay. Well,
and it says they make 87 cents per share. So I don't know what any of that means because I'm not an economic major.
They're a public company, so all their books are open. You can look at them anytime.
Yeah. They have a revenue of 37.28 billion, but their profit is 1.8. So they take that whatever you want. Economic.
I love the business model. As a business major, I love the model. I love the business model. You just hire people in a freaking contract,
They need money to live. So.
Right. And if you're in a state like Maryland, you could probably get public health care. Do they take Social Security out of your payment, out of your wages or whatever?
I am assuming that you have to do it yourself. If they're being treated like self-employed people, I'm assuming that you have to do it yourself.
Well, if you do a W-4, like which is wage withholding in the United States, that usually just goes through. It sets you up for.
It looks like. It looks like Uber will. I guess they must take taxes because Uber does send you like a 1099 form. I guess.
Yeah.
For drivers, so I guess they do take taxes, maybe.
Yeah, they probably have to.
Because there's like an example. There's a picture here of an example, right? Tax summary for 2017 of Jerry Butler. He earned $33,000, and expenses, fees, and tax took out $5,000, so his net payout was $27,000 over the year. But that also includes fees and expenses, whatever. I don't know what expenses mean. I guess gas. I don't know if they take your gas money out for Uber.
You got to be a part timer. $5,000. That's only. I don't even know what the math is on that.
I was a full-time worker at Chipotle and I only made $5,000, but.
$400. That's $400 a month on expenses. Gas usually runs around $200, probably just for a typical commute each month. Okay, well anyway, I'm done doing math.
The point is, they definitely take out taxes. They definitely are paying taxes, maybe. But this is also the EU, so the EU law is probably way different than the actual U.S. law, right? There's totally different. This is a totally different environment.
Well, in England, you got to do everything on the left, so.
That's my article.
All right. Back in the States, inflation is nearly back to 2%. This is according to, this is on pbs.org, even though the story byline is Christopher Rugaber of Associated Press. From Wall Street traders to car dealers to home buyers, Americans are eager for the Federal Reserve to start cutting interest rates and lightening the heavy burden on borrowers. The Fed is widely expected to do so this year, probably several times. Inflation, as measured by its preferred gauge, rose in the second half of 2023 at an annual rate of about 2%, the Fed's target level. Yet this week, several central bank officials underscored that they weren't ready to pull the trigger just yet. I'm like, so you have a target rate, you hit the target rate, and it's like, nope, that's not enough. Whatever. Again, rich people run the Fed. make no mistake about it, if they're running the Fed, they've got a portfolio the size of Cleveland, and they own stocks all over the damn place. They definitely have a vested interest in what they do, and why they're allowed to pull this shit, just beyond me. Why with the inflation nearly conquered and interest rates at a 22-year high, isn't now the time to cut? Because we don't know. Most of the Fed's policymakers have said they're optimistic that even as the economy and job market keep growing, the inflation pressures will continue to cool. But they also caution that the economy appears so strong that there's a real risk that price increases could also accelerate. And do you know that your interest rates are actually driving price increases? Have you made that connection yet, bankers? Housing prices go up. They do. People aren't going to borrow and buy a house if they can't afford the rates. So you lower your rates. Hey, God, this isn't hard. Sorry, back to the story. Several officials have said they want more time to see inflation continues to subside. I think they have an actual cure to the economy's problems that's going to solve it for all time.
They want to make
That's what I don't get.
They want to do negative inflation. They want to make it go to negative 12%. It's like, we've actually returned the dollar back to...
Deflation does not create any wealth. That's even worse.
I'm just saying, I don't know what their goal is. So I'm guessing that's their goal, is deflation.
Their goal is to make as much money off the higher interest rates. That's what their goal is.
Oh, right, of course.
7% makes them a lot more money than 6%. That 1%, man, that's the margin that makes them assholes rich.
Yeah.
They're going to be glacial and take their time. Yeah, we don't see what 1% of $1 billion is, but if you get that in one day, that's $1 million a day. And you're a rich guy. So you're like, $1 million a day, I can do better than that. Not realizing that nobody in the friggin' world would take 1% of that today, right now.
Yeah.
$10,000. They're going to be glacial and take their time, says Stephen Biltz. Why not? Why not? They're rich. You don't need to friggin' panic. Chief of I'm gonna read the story now and start commenting. They're going to be glacial and take their time, says Stephen Blitz. Blitz, what a name. Chief U.S. Economy at Global Data TS Lombard. They're going to say, we don't know, but we can't afford to sit and wait, so we're going to wait. Oh, we can afford. Thank you. I'm glad you can afford it. I'd like lower interest rates in my mortgage, quite frankly, so I can refinance. The sturdiness of the economy has also raised questions about just how effective the Fed's 11 rate hikes have been. With much higher borrowing rates are only barely restraining the economy, some officials may conclude that high rates should stay in place longer and that very few rate cuts will be needed. In the meantime, the economy's continued resilience gives them the luxury to take a cautious approach. I have no idea what that. Okay, we're commenting on the economy last quarter, not right now, by the way. So
yeah.
It's probably better today. Last month, for example, America's employers delivered a burst of hiring that began in 2024, adding 353,000 jobs in January, and the unemployment rate stayed at 3.7%, just above the half-century low. I don't feel there's a sense of urgency here. Loretta Mester, president of Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, told reporters on Tuesday. Mester is among 12 Fed officials who vote on interest rate policy this year. And how much you want to bet that she's rich? I think later this year, if things evolve as anticipated, we'll be able to start moving the rate down for you poor suckers out there that got to pay it. Yet their caution carries risk. Right now, the economy appears on track for a soft landing in which inflation would be defeated without causing a recession or high unemployment. But the longer that borrowing rates stay high, the higher the risk. Many companies and consumers stop borrowing, spending, weakening the economy, potentially sending into a recession. Economists love a recession. These guys, they do, because they make money. Make money off a recession. They lay people off, stocks go up, they sell the stocks, they make money. That's how this works. They don't give a shit about your job or your life or your family. They care about the bottom line of the rich folks at the top. I'm sorry, that's the facts. High rates could also compound the struggles of banks that are saddled with bad commercial real estate loans, which would be harder to refinance at higher rates. The high cost of borrowing has become a headache for David Kelleher's Chrysler Jeep dealership just outside Philadelphia. Listen to this guy. Listen to David Kelleher, who's a car dealer. One of the jobs you don't want, because you're going to convince people to buy cars they don't want. necessarily, but you got to, any sales job is tough. So when your sales job is already tough and their interest rates never go down, you just sit there and go, well, I hope somebody can afford a car someday and come in here. I'll just stand here and look at the showroom. All right, anyway, back to the story. Just 2.5 years ago, Kelleher recalled his customers could get an auto loan below 3%. Now they're lucky to get 5.5%. Customers had monthly car payments of $399 3 years ago, finding that the vehicle price is much higher now and interest rates up. Their monthly payments on a new car would be closer to $650. That's a freaking house payment a generation ago. The trend is pushing many of his customers toward lower price house used cars or no purchase at all. Or maybe just steal a car. I don't know. Steal a car, becomes car thieves. Just go around, take them. I don't know. Banks want to squeeze you for every last nickel. We gotta help them profiteers. We need the government to address the interest rates and understand that they've accomplished their goal of lowering inflation. I don't think they can handle inflation, quite frankly. Keller said if interest rates can come down, I think we're going to start seeing more cars. Keller is likely to get his wish by May or June, when most economists expect the Fed to start reducing its benchmark rate, which is now at about 5.4%. In December, all but 2 of the 19 policymakers participating in the Fed's policy discussions said they expect the central bank to cut rates this year. Yet, economic growth, by some measures, has accelerated since then. In the final 3 months of last year, the economy expanded at an unexpectedly strong 3.3% annual rate. Surveys of manufacturers, service providers, such as retailers, banks, shippers also reported that business perked up last month. Collectively, the latest report suggests the economy may not be headed for a soft landing, rather what some economists call a no landing. By that, they mean a scenario in which the economy would remain robust, inflation ongoing, threat potentially stuck above the Fed's target. Under this scenario, the Fed would feel compelled to keep rates at elevated levels for an extended period. Powell said last week that while the Fed wants to see continued strong growth, a strong economy does not threaten to send inflation up. I think it's a risk that inflation would accelerate, Powell said. I think the greater risk is that we stabilize the level meaningfully above 2%. That's why we keep our options open here and are not rushing. I don't think they're rushing at all. I don't know why they think they're rushing. They have not lowered rates. They spent last year raising them.
Some analysts are playing some sort of betting league where they're like, I'm going to make this much in the first quarter, and they're just holding out. Oh, I need to win this bet I made with my rich friends, so I need to make a little bit more money.
Yeah, who knows what their motivation is greed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
somebody at the
obviously.
Top, skimming this 1% that is artificially inflated, is just skimming over and over again, the rich folks. Some analysts have pointed to signs the economy is becoming more productive or efficient, allowing it to grow faster without necessarily increasing inflation. Yet productivity data is notoriously hard to be measured. Any meaningful improvement wouldn't necessarily become apparent for a year. Still, maybe the economy can take higher interest rates that we thought in 2019 before the pandemic said. Oh yeah, that's what a bank will say. Well, your economy can take these high interest rates. No, they can't. People are struggling at the bottom, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
It ain't about you assholes at the top and your freaking profit margins. Just for once, look at the people who actually live these lives. If so, that might not just delay the Fed's rate cuts, but result in fewer of them. Fed officials are still saying they plan to cut rates perhaps 3 times this year, below the 5 or 6 that some market analysts foresee. We'll get busy cutting rates. All right, there's your story. Economics, again, is not a science. Not a science. There's absolutely, it's just all guesswork. These people can say what they want. It's not a science. And of course, the famous saying, oh, you've heard this saying. Here's a saying. It's old and it's wise. If you take every economist in the world and lay them end to end, they will still not reach a conclusion.
That's a great one.
And back to you.
I do, yeah. As normal, totally normal. This is the world we live in, where people who have economy degrees just tell you, "Hey, I want to make more money, so listen to me." Right.
I got an MBE, motherfucker.
Yeah. In our next story, we're going to talk about the Finnish presidential candidate who surprised people care who he's sleeping with. This is from Miranda Bryant on The Guardian. The Finnish presidential candidate, Pekka Haavisto, has questioned why his sexuality has come under such strong focus in the final days of campaigning before Sunday's election as polls narrow with his rival, Alexander Stubb. The 65-year-old former foreign minister, who, if he wins, will become Finland's first green and first gay president, said he had been surprised by the way his sexuality had become an issue of public interest in the second and final round. Like, everyone was just asking, so, like, your husband or your boyfriend, what about him? I don't know why you're asking about him. I'm the one who's getting elected. International security and defense are a high priority in the Nordic country after it joined NATO last year as its borders Russia. The Finnish president is head of state, commander-in-chief of the army, and responsible for foreign policy in cooperation with the government. Is he worried he's gonna, like, piss off Russia because he's gay? I guess. In 2012, when Haavisto ran for president for the first time, voters were keen to discuss his sexual identity with him, but he had not initially found it to be a central topic on the campaign trail this time. However, since coming second out of 9 candidates of the first round to make it through the final round of voting against Stubb, he said the journalists, particularly those from the national broadcaster Yle, L-E-E, had been triggering discussions around it. From his home in Helsinki, where he lives with his partner Antonio Flores, he says, not in the campaign debates, but actually by some journalists in the National Broadcasting Company. They've been triggering it in a surprising strong way in the second round of voting. I think many commenters are also a little bit surprised that I am a third-time presidential candidate, and in the first round it was not a topic. So how come it comes in the second round? I guess they're just running out of questions. Ask him about his sexuality, yeah. Haavisto, who's running as an independent, added, for me, it surprises that it's a topic during the second round in these elections, and also that when going around the country meeting voters and having discussions, it's not coming directly to me like maybe it was discussed in 2012. Even that time, it wasn't much of an issue, so it looks as a little artificial topic now in the second round. Some journalists have been so active on this topic, it raises questions, he said. Oh, they're being paid off by Russia to ask about his sexuality? Is that what I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to indicate by his suspicions, I guess. His comments come after a University of Helsinki poll found that a third of voters would not vote for Haavisto because he is gay. The latest poll by Yle found that Haavisto is catching up with Stubb, a former prime minister and member of the ruling center-right National Coalition Party, but still trails him 46 to 54%. Jouko Jukinen, the editor-in-chief of Yle, says, in the second round, candidates are trying to win votes from these groups, or people who have not voted for them in the first round. We ask our subject matter expert if Haavisto's sexual orientation, which is not a new thing to Finns, could be a dividing matter for some of the voters. Our journalistically relevant question was considered to be taboo, not to be asked at all, even though a recent study shows that a third of voters believe that Haavisto's partner is the reason to not vote for him. It is a valid question since there are Finns with prejudices. It's a phenomenon that exists and we need to be bold enough to ask the questions. In the first round of voting last month, the rivals knocked out the right-wing populist candidate Jussi Halla-aho of the far-right Finns party to make it through to the runoff. Stubb, 55, won 27.2% of the vote, narrowly followed by Haavisto at 25.8%. So basically he's trying to get that like 3% that didn't vote for him, basically. I need to get the 3% that didn't vote for me to vote for me. I need to convince them. Another subject that has been a central topic of debate in the final days has been nuclear weapons, with Stubb and Haavisto disagreeing on what Finland's approach to them should be. While Haavisto is against storing nuclear weapons, it is against the law to bring them into the country. Stubb has said the law should be changed. While both candidates have broad-ranging support, Stubbs is stronger among pensioners, and as we know, there's a lot of old people. Haavisto's supporters are generally young, which will make turnout especially important for him. I guess, yeah. But there are also a lot of young people, but Europe does have a very large old people population, even after COVID and the pandemic happened. There's still a large majority of them, I think. I guess I'll have to look at the population demographics of Finland here. Before polls open on Sunday, both candidates will continue on the campaign trail. Haavisto, who planned to be in eastern and central Finland, said he had been strong support from female voters, who had been particularly active in pre-voting, and had a big concert on Monday to encourage young people to vote. If he wins, his first priority would be to talk about the climate crisis with other heads of state, he said, with the aim of forming an informal coalition to help pressure the UN and other bodies to take more urgent action. When introducing myself to colleagues, I would like to use this opportunity to raise some of the issues that are extremely important to Finland, and preventing climate change is one of those, he said. So, what is the problem? I don't know, this recent study they did, I guess, which is in Finnish or Swedish even, so I can't read it, but supposedly there was a study, the University of Helsinki barometer asked a bunch of students, I guess, and they were like, oh, we don't like his partner because, I don't know, is his partner, I guess his partner's a foreigner, right? He doesn't look Finnish. So, gross. Whereas Stubb has a nice Finnish wife. Look at her. Or I should say a white lady. I don't know if she's Finnish. She could be Italian. I don't know. But according to... Doesn't Finnish genealogy, isn't like a lot of Laplander in there? Like, they're completely, like, a different shade of skin? No? Oh, yeah, you're talking about the indigenous people of Finland. Yeah.
People, yeah. It's the Laplanders.
They're darker because they go outside. I mean, I don't know if this is scientifically based or anything, but my idea or my thoughts on this is that the reason that there's even white people to begin with is that we had a class of people who didn't go outside, and that's it. Right? It has no indication on some sort of God-given right as supremacy or anything. It's literally that guy is descended from people who stayed inside for millennia, and they were like, wait, we don't need to protect ourselves from the sun. What sun?
Longer winters.
No, but winter has sun. Winter has worse sun, especially in Finland. You will get cancer
but you don't go outside.
if you don't wear sunscreen.
Go outside and freeze.
Oh, you mean the sun doesn't even exist? Yeah, that's true. The sun doesn't even exist.
Like if you're in Lapland and you don't see the sun for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But
really?
I don't. Yeah, maybe that can also be a thing as well. But the idea that I guess his partner is not a normal Finnish guy, I guess, is why he's not getting the votes, because people are just, prejudiced, as they say. They're just prejudiced against his husband, which his husband has nothing to do with him as a leader, but I would never vote for a guy who marries a foreigner, I guess. Who cares if he's gay? He married a foreigner, and that's the worst thing that he could do, okay? He's gonna like other people and want to, work with other countries. Oh, God! Anyways, there's your story on the Finnish presidential candidate. If you're Finnish, vote for who you believe in, but good luck. And at least the far right got kicked out. That's all I gotta say. The far right party is not up there. Good job, Finland. You did the minimal amount I expected from anybody. Kick out the far right from being even voted on. Anyways, your story.
Okay, so I was just looking up a video to send you. I'll do that, I guess, after my story while you're talking, so I won't give you a lot of editing time. There you go. I am all over the place.
That's okay. I'm always all over the place.
In news briefs today, before we get to our bigger stories, Swiss police kill axe-wielding hostage taker on a train. This is from Reuters. Short story, updated 4 hours ago. Byline by nobody so far. A train pad, blah, 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 blah. Swiss authorities said a man armed with an axe and a knife held 15 hostages on a train for almost 4 hours until police stormed the train and fatally wounded him. Late on Thursday, the incident occurred in the town of Essert-Sos-Champbet on a train line connecting Balmes and Verdun-les-Bains in the Swiss canton of Vaud near the French border. Hey, we may have been there. I don't know. Hostages were all released unharmed. Police in the Bud Canton said in a statement on Friday, the hostage taker was fatally wounded during the intervention, and they say this was not terrorism, even though he's an Iranian national. I don't know, somebody taking an axe to you is terrorism. I don't care what the hell you call it. Oh, well, I wasn't terrorized at all by the axe and the knife.
I think it's not to make presumptions just because he's Iranian, because that has happened before. In the Netherlands, there was a shooting, and it was just an ex-boyfriend shooting his ex-girlfriend because he was jealous or whatever. But because he happened to be Moroccan, they were like, it's a terrorist attack! There's a terrorist attack! And I'm like, it was nothing to do with terrorism. He was just Moroccan. Like, it has nothing to do with terrorism. He wasn't taking hostage like anyone, yeah.
But if you're whatever country you're from, it doesn't really matter. If you're terrorizing people, you're a terrorist. You know?
I wish that's how the world worked, but we all know that it's racially motivated when people say terrorist.
Oh, well, when they say it's not terrorism, it's absolutely doing a disservice to the people who were terrorized. Anyway, I'm just saying. Google rebrands Bard. This is more tech news before we get to the main story on butterflies. Google, or as it's known in the word, goggle, if you leave one of the Google rebrands its Bard AI chatbot as Gemini, which now has its own Android apps. That's right. If you want AI on your phone, get at it. Just as Microsoft renamed Bing Chat to Copilot to unify its generative AI branding, Google has done the same thing with Bard and Duet AI. The services now bear the name Gemini after Google's multimodal AI model. The name change leaked earlier this month. Google has also debuted a dedicated Gemini Android app alongside a paid version of the chatbot that has more enhanced capabilities. Bard has been the best way for people to directly experience our most capable models. Google CEO Sundar Pichai wrote in a blog post, to reflect the advanced tech at this core, Bard is now simply being called Gemini. It's available to 40 languages on the web and is coming to a new Gemini app on Android and Google app on iOS. Yay! Those who downloaded the Gemini Android app can actually replace Google Assistant as default assistance on their device. So when the long press the home button and utter, "Hey Google," your phone and tablet can fire up Gemini instead of Assistant. You can make this switch by opting in through Assistant. Okay, so we're just kind of doing tech assist for Google now.
Yeah.
Everybody's punching their phone. Who next? Okay. Anyway, so there's the new Google app. We're not going to get too far into it because we got our main story, which is the monarch butterfly population decimated by, I'm guessing, humans. Because humans, again, we are so caught up in our own world. The world goes on without us, and we just are oblivious to it all. Oblivious to the fact of the destruction that is being brought upon the planet. Oblivious. Anyway, back to the story. Monarch Butterflies is from Reuters. Diego Delgado. Man, and when I come back, I want my name to be Diego Delgado. I love that name.
Coolest name
Population
ever.
of monarch. The population of monarch butterflies in Mexican forests, where they spend the winter, fell to the second lowest figure on record this season, offering a grim snapshot of the already endangered orange and black insect. The iconic butterfly's presence was only documented in 2.2 acres of forest spanning a couple of Mexican states, where they traditionally hunker down for the winter. According to the latest annual study published on Wednesday and conducted by Mexico's Protected Natural Areas Commission and the Swiss-based World Wildlife Fund Environmental Group. In the mid-1990s, monarch butterflies could be found on around 45 acres of the same forest, covered largely by pine and fir trees along the border between Michoacan and Mexico states. In 23-24, a winter figure marks the second lowest since the population survey began over 3 decades ago and is down 60% from the previous winter. Excuse me. Biologists pin the blame for the nosedive on higher than usual temperatures and drought conditions where the butterfly reproduces, mostly in the northwestern U.S. states like Washington, Oregon, and California. The adverse weather, made worse by climate change, translates into less milkweed, the plant where the butterflies mostly lay their eggs and what their caterpillar offspring feed on. In one of the planet's epic wildlife migrations, the flowering butterflies travel south as many as 2,800 miles or 4,500 kilograms. Those little tiny butterflies, they get up there and fly all that distance.
And it looks really cool to see.
From spots as far north as Canada to eventually spend the winter in warmer Mexico, where millions cling to the trees that protect them from the rain and chill. Monarch butterfly populations fluctuate year to year, and as recently as 21, the same survey showed a 35% uptick to cover around 7 acres. Officials and activists called for more action to boost the species, including need to confront threats posed by herbicides and climate and decimate milkweed forest conservation. Don't kill them milkweeds. You think they're useless weeds, but you know what? They may be hosting hundreds of monarch butterfly pupa and larvae, and in their
little caterpillars,
their cocoons.
Yeah.
As they turn into a chrysalis. That's kind of the stage I'm in, which is this mushy stage. We can't lower our guard. Hey, I'm in a mushy stage right now. We can't lower our guard. George Recards, head of the WWF's Mexico Police, told repeaters after releasing the data. There's your quick story. Monarch butterflies need to come back. Stop using pesticides. They don't do anything. I don't know if we're going to do anything to boost our population other than stop using pesticides. Anything else we try to do will probably cause harm to some other species, and humans are just not thinking that far ahead. We just haven't mastered the fact of thinking 10 steps ahead. We think, tomorrow I need a sandwich, okay? I'll worry about what happens next after the sandwich. And then it's like, oh shit, I killed a tree to get that sandwich. Oh, okay. Next.
I killed a tree to get that sandwich.
Humans are capable of complex thought, complex emotions, and unfortunately, all we think with is our reptilian brains. Fight or flight, protection, survival. We've passed that, man. We passed that when we invented fire, dudes. We have come to the stewardship stage of our existence. Once we invented fire, we became stewardship of the planet. We became individual demigods.
Yes.
Capable of destruction. Back to you.
And this is why native people are the best, because they realize that and they can take care of the planet. Just saying.
Everybody was somewhere.
People are always yelling at like the northern tribes in Canada, being like, "You can't whale! You're killing whales!" I'm like, no. Those guys are actually eating the whole whale. Whalers who sell whale meat or whale oil or whatever, they're taking one bit from the whale and then throwing the rest of the carcass in the trash. There's a difference between corporate whaling and actual whaling. Okay, that's just an example.
Oh yeah, we had a giant whale washed up here a couple of years. There was a giant whale washed up here in Maryland a couple weeks ago. Dead whale.
In the bay? In the Chesapeake Bay?
No, on Assateague Island from the ocean.
Wow.
Like, it was dead already. It just washed up. It was giant beluga whale or something.
Wow.
Just a big freak.
Wow, that's crazy. You didn't put it on Weird and Wacky News? Come on.
It had to be really... it was one of them news items I never got to.
Oh, okay.
I could do it again. They did an autopsy and everything. And it's like...
Oh, wow.
They really get into that. Those marine biologists got stuff to do.
They just want to make sure that the whales aren't dying from environmental effects, right? Oh, what killed this whale? Was it an oil rig? No, it was just a shark, or something like that.
Right.
All right, for our culture segment, the far-right party AFD, which we've talked about a lot, especially when we were in Berlin last September, we talked about them a lot, have involved themselves in the Berlin Film Festival. This is from Euronews Culture. Directors of the Berlin Film Festival have U-turned and disinvited members of the German far-right party AFD in light of revelations over alleged master plan concerning mass deportation. Oh, right, we talked about this. The Berlin Film Festival has disinvited members of the German far-right alternative from attending the open gala on its 74th edition of the Berlinale. Berlinale. Up until recently, the festival was standing by its decision to extend an invitation to the AfD, as part of a standard invitation to Berlin state parliamentarians across the party spectrum. The Berlinale had even received backing from Claudia Roth, Green politician and Germany's Federal Commissioner for Culture, whose office stated that the Berlinale's decision to invite members of the AfD was in accordance with democratic practice and the federal government's respect for the parliament and its elected delegates. But now, the directors of the Berlinale, Mariette Rissenbeck, Carlo Chantrain, have made a U-turn, citing reports recent on AfD's alleged mass deportation plans. Indeed, there have been reports that AfD politicians have held meetings with neo-Nazi activists and have discussed a master plan for mass deportations in the event and party coming over. We did talk about this. The AfD's defense was that it was just members of the party that were there and it wasn't actually supported by AfD. But if you have people in your party and they're not being expelled and they support mass deportations of everybody that isn't German, that is a warning sign. And they're meeting with neo-Nazis. Maybe they shouldn't be allowed in your party if you don't want to be associated with them. Just an idea. Especially in light of the revelations that have been made in recent weeks about explicitly anti-democratic positions and individual politicians of the AfD, it is important for us, as the Berlinale, and as a team, to take an unequivocal stand in favor of an open democracy, read the statement put out by the directors of the festival. We have therefore today written to all previously invited AfD politicians and informed that they are not welcome at the Berlinale. The Berlinale has previously issued a statement regarding its decision to invite members of AfD to opening ceremony. The festival had confirmed that AfD members Kirsten Brinker and Ronald Gleis were invited, but the Berlinale stands for basic democratic values and against right-wing extremism. Gleiser had frequently been called out for his extreme statements, including once comparing Winston Churchill to Adolf Hitler. As far as I know, he was a wartime prime minister, so he did make some tough decisions, but I don't remember anything in my history class about Winston Churchill expelling certain groups of a certain religious minority and putting them in camps, as far as I know. Now the US, you could say the US was like that because they did put Japanese people in internment camps, but I don't remember that happening in the UK, as far as I know. Please correct me if you have some sort of huge revelation about the history of the UK and how they did put people in camps. The invitation sparked outrage, with film professionals signing an open letter to the festivals protesting the decision, saying that the invitation to AfD politicians was incompatible with the Berlinale statement commitment to being a place of empathy, awareness, and understanding. This year's Berlinale would kick off amid intense debate about whether the anti-immigration party poses a fundamental threat to Germany's democratic constitution. Yeah, there's one thing being anti-immigrant and there's another thing being anti-anyone who immigrated, right? Because this particular speech they had indicated that they wanted to deport everyone who isn't a German that was born here. Even like if they've gotten citizenship, if I went to Germany and got citizenship, according to this party, I should be deported because even though I did all the work to get citizenship, I don't belong in Germany. And that's what was very scary about this speech, is that they want to kick out people who've already done all the work of, 20 years probably of work to become a German citizen, and nope, not good enough. Not good enough. You're not German. Get out. The 74th Berlin Film Festival opens on the 15th of February and lasts until the 25th. The opening film is the world premiere of Small Things Like These, a film based on Irish author Claire Keegan's best-selling historical novel starring Cillian Murphy. Stay tuned. I guess we'll cover that when it comes out. Maybe there'll be a list of all of the cool films at the Berlin Film Festival. I know we never actually... I feel like I missed it in the news cycle, but there was a European film Oscar kind of thing, and I think I missed the whole thing. So I'll look at that. I'll try to find a story on that because I feel like I missed what won there at all. So there you go. There's your culture segment, and into this day in history. I got your message on Facebook, by the way.
Oh, okay. So I'll be slow walking this day in history because there ain't a lot. Some days they go like 20 items. Like, nothing ever happens on February 9th. So, this day in history in 1796, Qianlong, the fourth emperor of the Qi dynasty, abdicated and was succeeded by Zhang Qing. Of course, the Qing dynasty was the one that movie The Last Emperor was made about. That was the last dynasty of China before, I guess, the commies took over, or whoever. Not up in Chinese. 1940, South African novelist, critic, and translator J.M. Coetzee, who won the 2003 Nobel Prize, the 2003 Nobel Prize for Literature, was born this day in 1940. 1943, the Battle of Guadalcanal ended with an Allied victory over Japan. Sounds like a big canal, but that's just the way it's spelled. Guadalcanal, big island, out in the South Pacific. 1984, Soviet Premier Yuri Andropov died 15 months after succeeding Leonid Brezhnev and was replaced by Konstantin Chernenko. Of course, Chernenko didn't serve that long either. And he was replaced by Mikhail Gorbachev. And Gorbachev basically oversaw the Soviet Union
collapse of the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Collapse, there you go, that's the word. The collapse of the Soviet Union. 1996, German physicist Peter Armbruster and his team of scientists synthesized the chemical element 1112, a heavy trans-uranium element that was later named Copernicum. And it probably is very radioactive, considering it comes from uranium. And what radioactive means, very unstable. You can actually hear it deteriorating. It's that unstable, but you can hear it with a Geiger counter. That's a little clicking noise you hear. That's that element returning to its base, its base element rapidly. And it generates heat, therefore causing, motion. 2002, Princess Margaret, who is King George VI's second daughter and the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, died in London. She struggled to balance her independent spirit with her duties as member of the British royal family. What duties did she have, I wonder, as the non-queen, Princess Margaret? Other than, hey, I'm Lizzie's younger daughter, our younger sister, I have no responsibilities that she's going to have.
Well, that's her thing, right? Her responsibility was like to talk to people and just be present and be some sort of figurehead. But like for smaller events that don't deserve the Queen's attention.
As Encyclopedia Britannica is wont to do, they don't really embellish it with a lot of details. They just say independent spirit, which means that she wasn't about to play that game.
Wasn't she famously like flirting with John F. Kennedy or something?
Famously had a lot of fun? Nah, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what the deal was with her, whatever. I didn't really get into the British monarch. I know she had another sister, Princess Anne. I don't know if she was as wild. She might still be around.
Princess Anne, in the show, the Crown, Princess Anne is like normal lady.
I don't know. It's going to suck to a certain extent to be rich and not have anything, right? Like that. I'm not going to be queen, but hey, still got a lot of money. Still don't have to work. Still, people gonna bow to me. I'm not really comfortable with it, but they do it.
I don't think so, actually. I don't know.
Well, you see it. People bow to him. 1757. On this day, the featured event, Calcutta restored to British control. I guess they couldn't handle it on their own. Concluded this day in 1757 by Robert Clive, the Treaty of Alanagar restored Calcutta, now Kolkata. Different spelling. You can pronounce it the same, I think. Which Clive had recovered in January from Siraj al-Dawla to British control and served as a prelude to the seizure of Bengal. All right, then. Feature biography, Alice Walker was born this day. American writer. February 9th, 1944. Other famous birthdays. Carmen Miranda, Portuguese-born singer and actress, known for wearing these big, gigantic fruit headdresses on. Her was born this day in 1909. Carole King, American singer and songwriter. Carole King, who with her husband wrote many of the hits of what they called Brill Building in New York City, Tin Pan Alley. Wrote a lot of those songs, and then one day decided to become a solo artist and had one of the biggest selling albums of all time called Tapestry. And famously wrote a lot of songs for even her friends like James Taylor or so forth. Happy birthday, Carole King! 1942, she is 82 today. 1943 is the birthdays of Joseph E. Stiglitz, American economist. We already covered Alice Walker. And Zhang Ziyi, Chinese actress, born in 1979. National Day calendar. It is National Toothache Day. Now, man, I don't even want to think about a toothache.
Hell yeah. Why do you want to celebrate that?
Dentists celebrate this.
Oh.
Dentists are like warming up their tools. We can drill. We can do a root canal on that sucker. Let's go.
Give me $1 billion and I'll fix your teeth.
Big pep talk today in dental offices all across the country. National Bagel and Lox Day. Bagel, of course, is a big old piece of bread that's really kind of hard because I don't know what they do to it to make it that hard. But anyway,
I've never had a hard bagel.
Yeah, they're kind of hard. You can spread shit on them without breaking them.
Maybe I'm used to really hard Dutch bread, so bagels aren't as hard, I guess.
And lox is a fish. It's and National Pizza Day. So you're having a bagel pizza. Maybe.
Oh yeah, the best kind of pizza, bagel pizza. Hell yeah.
And it's National Cut the Cord Day, which has nothing to do with birth or umbilical cords or getting rid of your mom or whatever that is supposed to be about.
Getting rid of your mom.
As devices for streaming continue to grow, more people look to cut the cord from cable. Whether binge watching old favorites or catching evening news, cord cutters can customize channel for live. Yeah, seriously, I bought a smart TV. It has 8 million channels on it. Why am I paying for cable? To watch a live football game once in a while?
I think the only reason we're paying for cable is they have a really good internet bundle, and that's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If they don't bundle your cable with internet, you're not getting it. It just ain't happening, right?
Just give me the internet and turn off my TV. I don't care.
Yeah. So yeah, the TV is like my cable TV, for instance. I was gonna record the Packers 49ers playoff game.
Yeah.
Right. I watch the games at my own leisurely pace. Pause it. Don't care about. I'll get the score later. I don't care. Right. So I'm just letting it record, I think, doing yard work. I'll watch the game later. I go back and freaking never recorded it. It never recorded it.
Oh,
even though I set the settings. I set the settings to record anything that says Green Bay Packers in it, right?
Yeah.
It recorded the previous week's playoff game, but on the guide, if you look at the guide for the cable, it said to be announced instead of a football game. It's like, how is this to be announced? The playoffs are going to happen months in advance, when these games were scheduled.
They all have a whole meeting about it, don't they? They have a whole meeting saying these are the playoff games that are coming up in the season, right? They have a whole...
The NFL blocks out these time periods with the networks way in advance for playoff games. And on cable guide, it just said to be announced, which is horseshit, which means my settings will not record the game. So thanks a lot, cable TV, for fucking up my weekend. I mean, they lost the game anyway, but I would have watched the whole thing, not just the freaking highlights. So I watched the highlights and I'm like, man, am I fucking mad?
I could have made a better highlight reel.
Not that they lost a close game. I was mad I didn't get to see shit except the freaking highlights that they decide I want to see.
Yeah.
Maybe I wanted to see third down in the second quarter. I don't know. Anyway, through cable, long diatribe. I hope I gave you a lot of time to edit that video.
Oh, I've been done for a while, yeah.
Those are the only 4 things it is today. Enough to give you a toothache. on February 9th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
All right, and this has been Allison here from the Netherlands, where we will have a great weekend. Hopefully, I wish that to you. I wish that to you to have a good weekend. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, all of those things. Tell us what you hate about dentists in the comments below, and we'll see you next week for some more Before Coffee. Here is your mic drop moment.
Is love I can be sure of. So tell me now, and I won't ask again. Will you still love me tomorrow?
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.